There's one more thing that I want to hit. It's a dark subject, and that's, I know you had at least one suicide attempt. Are there more? How many?
I don't know.
Did you always have it planned out?
No, it was anger-based.
What would trigger it?
Shame. From something I did. From hurting Jen. When put into my face, when brought up, or when I calmed down and realized, I would feel so horrible that I wanted to get away from it so fast that I started telling myself, milliseconds, you're worthless, your time here's over, you've done your job, you're warrior, that's all you're here to do, don't ruin this woman's life. That day, we were working together. It was all right. I was feeling down. You know, I wasn't talking to my son. I was trying. I was divorcing. I knew that was going to be another cash windfall for somebody else other than me. I knew what was coming, and I'm still trying to work. And we wrapped up that day. Had two friends in the back seat, right? We've been riding for a while together, and they didn't know. They didn't know I'd been down that day. They jumped out of the car in the parking garage, like, see you at the bar, like always, you know? And Jen, I found out later, knew that day, all that day, that I was off. I wasn't the jovial self that I normally was. I wasn't charismatic. I was just kind of quiet.
Kind of thing, but this day was a little bit different. He stayed in that space throughout the entirety of the day. So not focused. He's so tight at work. I mean, this guy was flawless, what it seemed like, on targets, and he was missing things. He was messing up. So he just seemed like this isn't the normal Tom that I'm used to seeing. Did I think he was going to try to take his life? Of course not.
That whole day, it was my son's thoughts of my son were weighing on me. Not the fact that I was getting divorced, the thoughts of what a shitty father I had been. And here I am again, right? Leaving his mother. And we got to that garage, and my two friends took off, and then Jen, I normally help her carry stuff in. She's starting to grab her bags, and I said, I got to make a phone call. You know, in the parking garage, I'm going to make a phone call.
It was like 110 in Canton, Ohio. It was just, they're all kitted up in all of their gear. So he said, I'm going to make a phone call. And I thought, in like 110 parking garage? Like, this really is not adding up now. He's got a hotel room all to himself. He could go in that room and make a phone call. Why is he hanging out in this parking garage? So,
and I just said that to get alone. I just needed to be alone. As soon as she turned the corner down the hallway, you know, from the parking garage, I pulled my pistol out. And when I charged it, you know, I was looking around like I'm going to get in trouble and I didn't want to be seen. And then I remember thinking, oh, the poor people in the rental car company that finds this car. And I remember thinking, I hope I do this right, because I don't want to end up, you know, just screwed up and have somebody have to take care of me and wipe my mouth all the time. And I just...
the one guy had set it down, and he's like, hey, I'm just going to go shower real quick, and I'm just going to go down the bar right away. And I said, you know what, I'm going to try to get a hold of Tom.
My phone starts vibrating and ringing, and I'm ignoring it. And
so I went to the room, and I started unpacking my gear, and just everything inside my spirit was like, something's not right.
I'm not thinking of war. I'm not thinking of anybody that died. I'm just thinking of what a loser I was. And I was hoping I could do it, you know, and the phone kept going off.
So I started texting him, you want to meet me? You know, Teddy said he's going to go to the bar early. Let's just go early. Nothing. He's usually very, very responsive. Another text, nothing. Another text, nothing. And by this point, I thought, he's not on a phone call.
And I finally picked it up to look like, God. And all I saw was a bunch of stuff, a bunch of missed calls, and I saw something you're late.
I knew something was off. I was just about ready to go to the parking garage. And for some reason, I don't even know why, I told him he was late.
Calls, and I saw something you're late. And when I saw you're late, I went right back to work. Like, I'm never late. I'm never, ever late.
He wasn't late. I mean, we had hours.
He wasn't late.
No, we had hours before this meetup. And so people asked me why I said that to him, or How did I know? It was divine. I know that now, that it took something like that to stop him, each other. And I don't know if it was instinct. I'm assuming it was God stepped in and said, tell him he's late, because that's what stopped him.
Plus or minus 30 seconds anywhere in the world, right? And I'm like, I'm never late. Clear my pistol, put it back in my bag, and grabbed all my stuff and went running down, like, what am I late for? And she's like, well, let's just go have a seat, and talk. We went and sat in the corner. Everybody else was getting drunk over here. We went and sat in a dark corner and just talked for a long time. I didn't tell her. I didn't want to tell her. I thought I'd never do this again. I was crazy. It was terrified me. It literally terrified me, thinking of how close I was. And I think 2 months later, I told her, and it really struck her.
The hardest thing he's ever told me was, you're my savior. You saved me. And that broke me.
He told you that?
Mm-hmm. And I said, if I save you, I can also destroy you. Like, I'll miss it one time. You won't get that text from me that says you're late. And so there was this tremendous weight for years that I thought I could keep him alive.
It's a long process. You got to be diligent. You got to be patient. And I wasn't patient. I wasn't getting well quick enough. Fights would break out over, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what they were for. They were stupid. They were all
in the stupidest way possible every single time. And that's what makes it feel so insanely crazy, is that this is over nothing. This is over a cup in the sink. This is over socks left on the staircase. This is something that has embarrassed you. Just this big.
They're all stupid. But I would go to shame, embarrassment, and then want to end it. Screw this, I'll just, and I'm banging a pistol off my head. I've grabbed it.
And I watched him bang guns off his head. I was on my knees begging him not to pull a trigger, literally thinking I'm going to watch.
And I've grabbed it from underneath the couch or underneath the mattress before, going to the lockbox and just smacking it off my head, just banging it off my head, screaming, I just want to do this right in front of her.
There was a time where he had his finger on the trigger, just once.
I mean, you would see him actually holding a pistol
to his head,
banging it on his head,
in tears, saying, let me just do this.
How many times did that happen, do you think?
6, 7.
In front of her. Never considering what it was doing to her. I didn't care about me. And I cared about her. And I hated me for hurting her.
I mean, I got to the point where I started hiding the guns soon as I could feel something was off that day. And then that would piss him off. Where are my guns? Well, I don't think you should have them. Last week I saw you banging it on the side of your temple, asking me to give you permission to end it. I'm never going to do that. Never going to let you. I'm going to fight for you, fight for us until the end.
She said, cycle, how do I break this cycle? Not on the bad side. And we just kept going. We just kept going. And her patience just kept pushing and pushing, and her kindness and love, no matter how much I pushed her away. She came back strong, and she kept offering different alternatives, and I just kept taking them.
I think the last time I literally was on my knees, we were in the bedroom. And he always told me, and I knew this for 10 years, you never put your finger on the trigger unless you intend to pull it. And so all these other times he had the gun in his hand, but this time he put his finger on the trigger. And as soon as I saw that, I thought it was done, truly. I thought I was going to watch him pull it. And I know many other unit wives that had to watch that. So I literally thought in that second, like, this is my time. This is where I watch him die.
What stopped him?
I fell to my knees, literally was grabbing him by his pants. I knew not to try to take the gun. I was scared to touch it, that he might react. And I think when he saw me fall to the ground, just sobbing, begging him not to, it's like this recollection, like Tom came back, because Tom's often gone when this would happen. He'd go somewhere else. Crawler came forward, and the guy I knew and loved was gone, just gone. His eyes would turn black, and then they would turn blue again. And when I saw him see me on the ground that way, he fell to the ground too, put the gun to the side, and he said, "I'll never do that to you again." And he didn't.
That was it.
That was it.
There's one thing. I mean, who do you think intervened that night in the parking garage, or that day in the parking garage?
Yeah, God. He does everything. So,
There are no coincidences, right?
no. He didn't want me dead. He knew there was more for me. And I know that now.